Imagine trying to navigate daily life in the U.S. economy, but your hands are completely tied. I mean, you can't open a basic checking account, you can't secure a mortgage for a home, you can't even run your own business on platforms like Amazon or Etsy. And why? All because you lack a single essential 9-digit number. For non-U.S. residents and foreign nationals, lacking a U.S. tax ID can literally paralyze your financial footprint. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down exactly what you need to know about navigating IRS Form W-7 so you can obtain your ITIN step by step.
If you need to fulfill U.S. tax obligations but just aren't eligible for a Social Security number, you are definitely in the right place. But hey, I have to warn you right up front. The stakes for navigating this dense bureaucratic maze incorrectly are incredibly high. A simple typo on your application doesn't just mean a quick phone call to fix it. It triggers an automatic IRS rejection. And if you choose the wrong submission method, well, a rejection might mean you've risked losing your original, irreplaceable passport in the mail for months, putting your entire financial life completely on hold. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the ITIN purpose and benefits, who exactly needs one, a step-by-step application guide, common mistakes and troubleshooting, ITIN versus SSN, and finally, next steps and a quick disclaimer. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, ITIN purpose and benefits. So what exactly is it? An ITIN, or Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, is a 9-digit tax processing number issued directly by the Internal Revenue Service. It always begins with the number 9, and interestingly enough, it's formatted exactly like a Social Security number. The IRS created this specifically for folks who aren't eligible for an SSN, but who still have U.S. tax obligations. The real beauty of the ITIN is that it allows you, regardless of your immigration status, to legally comply with U.S. tax laws and efficiently process your tax returns. Having this number is a total game changer. It literally moves you out of financial paralysis and into active participation in the U.S. economy. Tangibly speaking, an ITIN allows you to file your federal tax returns and, this is a big one, claim eligible tax refunds that you might be owed. But beyond just taxes, federal regulations recognize ITINs as valid identification for banking. This means most banks and credit unions are actually going to allow you to open checking and savings accounts. It even allows you to secure mortgages with certain lenders and finally start building a real financial history in the United States. Moving right along to Section 2, who exactly needs one? Let's figure out if you actually need this thing. If you fall into one of these specific profiles, you likely do. This includes non-resident aliens earning U.S. income, like from a rental property, foreign entrepreneurs selling on U.S. e-commerce platforms, dependents being claimed for tax benefits, or international students receiving taxable grants. Does any of this sound like you? If so, you meet the strict IRS criteria for requiring an ITIN. Okay, Section 3, our step-by-step application guide. Let's get into the weeds here. The application process is basically a 3-step dance. Step 1 is completing Form W-7, which is the official IRS application. Step 2 is gathering your supporting documents to prove your identity and your foreign status. And Step 3 is submitting the whole package. Now, a critical note here. You cannot just send in a W-7 by itself, folks. Unless you qualify for a very specific, rare exception, you absolutely must attach a valid, original federal tax return to your W-7 application. Basically, the IRS assigns your ITIN and processes your tax return at the exact same time. Now, take a look at this IRS table of acceptable documents. What's really fascinating here is that a valid, unexpired passport is the absolute holy grail of documents. It's the only standalone document that proves both your identity and your foreign status. The IRS isn't exactly known for being laid back, so if you submit your passport, you don't need any other ID, which is great. However, if you don't have a passport, you have to submit a combination of at least 2 other approved documents. Think things like a national identification card, a foreign driver's license, or a civil birth certificate. Oh, and remember, a birth certificate is actually mandatory for dependents under 18 unless you're using a passport for them. Once your paperwork is all tied up with a bow, you have 3 submission methods. You can visit an IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center by appointment for free, assuming you're in the U.S. You can pay to use a certifying acceptance agent, or CAA, which is an awesome option available both in the U.S. and internationally. Or you can just mail it yourself. But let's be totally objective here. Mailing it yourself means you must send your physical original passport through the mail to the IRS in Texas. It can take up to 60 days to get it back. Contrast that with the absolute peace of mind of using a CAA or an IRS center where they authenticate your documents in person and hand your passport right back to you on the spot. For most people, avoiding the nightmare of a lost passport is well worth utilizing an agent. Section 4. Common mistakes and troubleshooting. Listen up, because this part is absolutely crucial. The IRS processes millions of these forms, and minor administrative hiccups trigger rejections at a remarkably high rate. A rejection forces you into a super frustrating logistical loop. You get a CP 567 notice in the mail saying you were denied, your tax return goes unprocessed, your documents have to be mailed all the way back, and your financial life remains on hold while you start completely from scratch. No fun at all. So, to avoid that nightmare, you need to meticulously double-check all details against these frequent W-7 pitfalls. The most common error? Mismatched data. A misspelled name or an incorrect date of birth that doesn't exactly match your ID. Next up is simply forgetting to attach the federal tax return entirely. Another massive pitfall is submitting uncertified photocopies of your documents. The IRS only accepts original documents or copies certified directly by the issuing agency. A regular photocopy from your home printer? Instantly rejected. Finally, just make sure your identification isn't expired and your foreign and U.S. addresses are completely filled out. All right, Section 5, ITIN versus SSN. This is a super common point of confusion, but the fundamental divide here is actually pretty simple. The ITIN is issued by the IRS strictly for federal tax processing. It explicitly does not grant any legal work authorization in the U.S., it doesn't provide eligibility for Social Security benefits, and it does not change your immigration status. Plus, an ITIN will expire if you don't use it on a federal tax return for 3 consecutive years. On the flip side, an SSN is issued by the Social Security Administration. It actually grants work authorization, tracks earnings for benefits, and it never, ever expires. Bottom line, you cannot use an ITN in place of an SSN for employment. Doing so carries some very serious legal consequences. And finally, Section 6, Next Steps and our disclaimer. No, patience is absolutely key here. After you submit that W-7 package, the standard IRS processing time is about 7 weeks. However, if you're submitting during peak tax season, which is right between January 15th and April 30th, or if you're applying from overseas, you should probably expect it to take closer to 9 to 11 weeks. If your application is approved, the culmination of all this waiting will be a CP 565 notice arriving in your mailbox, officially assigning you your brand new 9-digit ITIN. Before we wrap this up, I do need to give a quick professional disclaimer. As we've seen today, this process is highly specific. Tax laws and IRS procedures are complex, and they are always subject to change. So while this explainer provides a really solid, comprehensive roadmap based on IRS guidelines, you should always consult the IRS directly or a certified tax professional for the most personalized and up-to-date guidance tailored to your specific financial and immigration situation. So, having decoded the forms, the documents, and those tricky little pitfalls, I've got one final question for you. Are you ready to confidently navigate Form W-7, gather your certified documents, and officially unlock your financial footprint in the United States? The U.S. economy is waiting for you. Take that next step, consult a professional if you need to, and get your compliance in order. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy filing.